all the coalitions that were created to form what we know as the Democratic Party are now in their own lanes, and some are starting to drive away.
Yep.
And that's going to
be... And that's one thing that I'm starting to see with the progressives. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can probably count them on two hands on individuals who, you know, propose progressive bills and legislation and ideas. And it's starting to be a real separation. And in my opinion, I'm down for it. So one thing I just want to make clear, I mean, we all have been probably going through the statistics, the geographics of the polling results when it comes to what happened a few weeks ago. And one thing that I got to say, I don't think I said this enough in prior videos, but black folks, we showed up. You know what I'm saying? For the amount of, you know, dysfunction that we have, you know, when it comes to misogyny in black culture, when it comes to, you know, people having their priorities kind of mixed up, we actually showed up in the numbers. You know what I'm saying? I think it was like 87% black voters voted for Harris. And with a lot of the conversations that's been having, it's not because she was black, not because she was a black woman. It's because I bet you 7 times out of 10, it's because she had better policies than Trump, and we don't want Trump, which in my books is a good enough reason. And one individual that we're going to be watching here, his name is, hopefully I'm not mispronouncing this, is Eli Mistal. He written a book called Allow Me to Retort. I read it twice, and it's actually a real amazing book. I believe he used to be some sort of lawyer, and the information that he has regarding politics and the Constitution is amazing. So I highly recommend you guys check that out if you guys like to read. I mean, I know that's a dying thing nowadays, but if you want to read something that'll educate you and put some meat on your bones, go ahead and check that out. But without further ado, maybe I need to pull up the video. I mean, that would be good. Let's go ahead and hear them talk, just essentially about, you know, their perspectives on the results.
Also exactly what they were staying home about.
And the beauty of that, those folks, this is my interpretation, could be wrong, but I doubt it, was that it was almost like Pontius Pilate.
Right? Right? I wash my hands of your demolition.
There you go. I'm like, I know you can't blame me. I wrote somebody's name in, or I didn't even bother to go to the polls. When you look at the number of people, both candidates underperformed their 2020 election vote.
I will say just really quickly, part of that is not just COVID, but part of that is that it was easier to vote in 2020. Part of why the votes were suppressed was because after 2020, a bunch of states were like, we're going to make it totally harder to vote. And again, at some point, we will get into the Democratic Party's complicity in all of this. But like, you know, it's one of the reasons why both candidates underperformed, is because it was literally harder to vote this time. But I mean, look, at core, this is what the country asked for, and now. I think the real question is that we have to live with it. We have to people get the government they deserve. That's not me. That's Thomas Jefferson. Right. Yep. And I know that a lot of people who didn't vote for him, a lot of people who worked hard against them, even since I wrote that article, I've gotten a lot of, you know, feedback, pushback from people who worked very hard against them, being like, well, I didn't want this. I did everything that I could. And yeah, at an individual level, nobody deserves it. Right. Mm-hmm. I am a crazy liberal, which means that at an individual level, I don't even think the Trump people deserve it individually. The people who voted for their own deportation do not deserve to be deported. They will be. They will be. I'm not saying they deserve it, right? Nobody deserves to die because.
And that's the unfortunate thing when it comes to voting, and something that, you know, I got a small channel, so it's not like I'm reaching millions and millions. I mean, I'm reaching a lot of people, but you know, one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand or put a lot of thought into is your vote is not only affecting you. You know, your vote is affecting millions, 332 million people here in America, young, old. Some of these bills or executive orders or legislation that the Trump administration is going to be trying to push through or actually get put into law, that can affect not just in your generation, like 5 years, 10, 15 years down the line. I mean, look at Reagan and some of the policies that he put into. Like, we're still feeling some of those effects. You know, so like, it's not just a you thing. You know, and this is what I was trying to explain. Like, those who didn't want to vote for Harris because they felt like they didn't want to, like, reward the Democratic Party for a genocide that they are participating in. But it's like, you not voting is only going to increase Trump's chances of winning, which it did. But it's like, just like old boy said, you can't just wash your hands and act like politics is not going to fuck with you at the end of the day. Like Phil DeFranco said, you know, you may not mess with politics, but politics will mess with you. You know, so there's no washing your hands and just acting like those policies, Trump policies, is not going to affect you at the end of the day. You are highly mistaken if you think that's the case. You know, so once again, you know, joke's on us.
Because of the way they voted, right? But as a country, as a nation, as a people, we deserve every bit of what Trump's about to bring to us.
Yeah.
Woo. And this is going to be some fire, baby. This is going to be his last, you know, go around, obviously. So he's going to want to go out with a bang. And unfortunately, I really hope he doesn't. But if it does, man, like I said, I'm blaming every Trump supporter there is.
Much the Democratic Party is reliant upon the volunteer labor of Black women at an operational level. At a literal, like, when the Democratic Party is talking about putting boots on the ground, the boots are heels. And the people on the ground are Black women, right?
Yeah.
They are the aunts and grandmothers who are actually stuffing the mail in the envelopes, right? Yeah. And licking the stamps and doing the door-to-door kind of work. And if those women are like, screw this, you're talking about taking out the Democratic Party's base of operation at its knees. And I have never seen Black women, Black people generally, but Black women specifically, react to an election loss quite like this, because the feeling of betrayal.
Well, that's why.
From the white women, obviously, from the Latino community.
And he said it perfectly. It's like the scenes in those, you know, cop movies or you know, those, you know, funny action movies, like, the duo will like be ready to bust in, you know, a room full of bad guys, you know, and you got the one, you know, saying, hey, we're going to bust in, you know, when on the count of 3, and once we go in there, we're just going to whoop on everybody. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. You know, he says 1, 2, 3. And the one guy just kicks down the door, points the guns like, hey, everyone on the ground, you know. But then his partner is not in the room with him. And he peeks his head out the door. His partner's running down the hallway because he doesn't want no smoke. He doesn't want no problems. You know what I'm saying? That's how it kind of feels with Black voters. And I understand, because I thought we were all in agreement, like, hey, this guy is bad. Do not fall for the tricks. Do not take the candy and go into the van. Don't do that. And I'm pretty sure, hey, you know, we got this. We on the same team, baby. He's racist. Yeah, we got you. And then looking at the results, Black folks overwhelmingly voted for a Democrat. Hispanics, 53% to Trump. And then when the white folks, holy shit, hey, it almost feels like there's a clear line of misunderstanding here. We are not on the same page by far. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we had some white allies, and I know we do. But it's like, looking at that chart, holy shit, like, you would think the Democratic Party is all black folks at this point. It might as well be, you know. So I understand how some black folks can feel betrayed.
The feeling of betrayal is so very real. I don't know how quickly or easily you.
It's not. The Democrats have a real problem on their hands, and it's multifaceted. It is along ideological lines with this progressive wing, which I've talked to some progressives who feel that they did not pursue the right kind of policies to really animate. It's not the Gaza stuff. It's more again economic conversations that to the extent that there were certain policies that were produced by the administration, they weren't protected by the administration. So, for example, the student loan program was just left to rot on the vine and be, it's like you take the body and you throw it out in the desert and you wonder why the buzzards are eating it. Well, it's because you threw the body in the desert. So you have this real sense out there of the Democratic Party confronting a potential implosion around what you're saying, where that base is all of those coalitions. All of the coalitions that were created to form what we know as the Democratic Party are now in their own lanes, and some are starting to drive away.
Yep.
And that's going to
be... And that's one thing that I'm starting to see with the progressives. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can probably count them on two hands on individuals who, propose progressive bills and legislation and ideas. And it's starting to be a real separation. And in my opinion, I'm down for it. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Republicans, there's your, the old school Republicans, and then you have your MAGA-tards. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a clear separation, and it's starting to feel like it's starting to break off. And I mean, damn, if that's how we get 4 different parties, then I mean, that might work out just as well. But that's definitely a good point.
Be a real problem. There are a lot of conservatives who are gleeful for that, because what they think is that sets them up in 28 and beyond to hold that line with a fractured Democratic Party. And as one put it to me the other night, everyone thought that our party would be the one to blow up and it'll be the Democrats. And I looked at them and said, oh, dude, our party blew up in 2010, 12, 11. We've been dead for a while. This is a zombie walking here. This MAGA is zombie land. Don't think you got something here that's, sustainable. I said, when the Democrats ever get their act together, it's a different ballgame for you. But you make the right point about that aspect of all of this with Black women. Like you, I've had a lot of hot conversations, a lot of anger over this, particularly given that yet again, as one sister put it to me, we've been screwed by white women. 53% of white women, given everything they know about this man, from grabbing by the pussy to, taking away their reproductive health, stood in line and pulled the lever for that. And so there is that. That's where a lot of that betrayal kind of centers. You look at the energy for Kamala coming out of the gate. It was Black women that jump-started that whole thing with that Zoom call of 400,000 women, raising $5-6 million. And it didn't seem to matter. And then, of course, as I put it, she had to run a flawless campaign, jumping over every hoop, explaining herself, her Blackness, her womanhood to every white man and every white news agency on the planet, while Donald Trump basically sat there visually in a diaper, drooling, spewing bullshit, and no one seemed to care.
And that's one thing a lot of people were trying to get people to pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? Like, Harris's campaign was like, 3 months, maybe 4? And people from day one was like, we need to know her policies. We need to know her policies. Like, 2 weeks later, she came out with a policy. oh, we need to know the details. We need to know the details. Then she went, on her website, went into extensive detail. And trust me, I know because I read all 9 pages and it was a long read. Trust me, and what about Trump? Like literally on his policy page, 2 pages max. And it was like, make the economy great again. What does that mean? I don't know. Can you further break that down? Like just stupidity stuff like that. Questioning if Harris is really black or not, or is she Indian, and talking about her accents changes and stuff. And we literally have a man who is saying racist things. Harris never brought up her race. But as soon as Trump, in a room full of, black people saying, and she turned into a black. Ever since that moment, everyone's been questioning her blackness. Do we ever question Donald Trump's whiteness at any point of this election cycle? No. But no, we have folks like Candace Owens getting millions of views talking about her parents, her grandparents, and it's like, why? Like all of a sudden we need to define what a black person is, what blackness is. Holy shit, can we talk about something important? Like the double standards is crazy. But unfortunately, being black or being a person of color, you can't just be amazing at something. You have to be extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? You can't get 100% on the test, because when racist white folks look at that, they look at mediocrity. You got to get 170% just to even compete with white folks who are below average. And this goes back decades ago. It's called the Black Code. Check it out. So once again, people, we got to figure out a way to get our shit together. Black, white, and everything in between. Get our shit together. Because unfortunately, we're all going to lose.
And now here we are, and folks want to look at them and said that they should have done more.
Yeah, it's really not flying in my networks. Nobody wants to hear that. You say it's not the Gaza thing. People have noticed that while this was a stunning Trump victory across the board in Michigan, where the Palestinian vote was most loudly withheld, y'all noticed that pro-Israeli Jewish senator, Democratic Senator Elise Slotkin, she hung on to her seat, but Harris lost, right? Pro-Israeli Senator Ruben Gallego, he won his seat, but Harris lost Arizona by a lot, right? So like you see all of these incongruencies all over the place, and it really makes it pretty clear that Harris's first problem was her biggest problem. She was a woman. She was a black woman. And that was just not something that white women or Latino men were going to vote for. I will note, just not to, I will note that all this talk about black
Get ready, folks.
Men not supported, that didn't seem to happen now, did it? That didn't seems like black men actually showed up again and voted for the black lady. I'm just saying that the media, we spent like half a summer talking about like, what is that man going to do in the barbershop? And we were on our job. We were on our job like we always are. I just wanted to point that out in case people hadn't seen that particular exit poll, right? But look, I mean, this is the look. I'm doing it. And I try not to, like, I'm devolving into the blame game, and like that's not helpful. It's not constructive. I'm only pointing it out because it becomes a real issue if the people who did the work, if the people who put in the work feel abandoned and betrayed by the rest of the coalition. Democrats cannot exist as currently constituted without coalition politics. And I fear that this final Trump re-election has driven a serious wedge and done serious damage to the Democratic coalition that Democrats rely on to get elected. And that goes to your point. Trump has killed most likely both parties.
Yeah.
Right? He killed the Republicans long ago. And as you say, like people who think that he didn't kill the Republicans are falling for the okie doke. It's a different party. They got the same name, right? But
it's a different party.
But I'm a Met fan. Before one of the playoff games, they had the Temptations play for the Mets, open the game for the Mets. It wasn't the real Temptations because they all dead. But it's the group that has the name the Temptations, right?
Yeah.
And that's the Republican Party, right? They are still the Republican Party, but it ain't anything to do with the party of Reagan other than the name. Democrats are most likely about to go through a similar internal revolution. So whatever comes out might still be called the Democratic Party, but it ain't going to have crap to do with Bill Clinton, or it ain't going to have crap to do with FDR or something like, you know what I'm saying? But it's not going to be, the way it was. That Obama coalition, let me put it like that. The Obama coalition, that's dead.
That's dead.
And he makes a good point. And one thing that I even noticed, and I'm pretty sure people who's been paying attention a lot longer than I have, when it comes to cultural issues, even during Clinton's kind of run for presidency, like it feels like every time Republicans, for example, the war on drugs, you know what I'm saying, instead of Bill Clinton, the Democratic Party, saying, hey, we need to do this quote unquote war on drugs a humane way, you know what I'm saying, like, yes, we need to get drugs off the street, but let's not just throw everyone who looks like a criminal into prison for 10, 15 years. Like it was a big disaster. But the problem was the Democratic Party, they needed to outbeat the crazy in Republicans. They needed to up the craziness to show like voters like, no, we're actually harder on the war on drugs. And just like now, when it comes to immigration, the Democratic Party didn't say, hey, messaging when it comes to we tried to pass X, Y, and Z, the Republicans trashed it. So here's our proposal for actually a humane way on keeping the border safe and dealing with the criminals inside America, like doing something like that. But no, they went a little closer to the right, now adopting Trump's border wall policy. And it's like, wait, what's going on? So I'm seeing the liberal, the centrist going towards more Republican, just inching over little by little to try to still, somehow try to farm Republican voters or something. And what's going to be left as Democrats is going to be the Progressive Party, and gee golly, if that's what it takes to kind of separate the two, I'm down for it. You know what I'm saying? But we're in this together. At the end of the day, we got a long 4 years to go. But unfortunately, if we just kind of have each other's back, we'll try to make it through it. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, if you guys disagree with anything that I said in this video, or you agree, which would be crazy, let me know in the comments down below, or hit that Discord link so we can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.